Hi, my name's Erin. I am a single mom. I homeschool my kids, I grow my own food, and I built my own off-grid tiny house. And today I'm going to give you a tour of my tiny house. But first I need to say there are a lot of tiny house tours on the internet. They're all beautiful, immaculate, well-designed, and perfect tiny houses. My tiny house is not that kind of tiny house. I built it myself with minimal building experience. I did not have a massive budget for which to build this tiny house. I did everything as cheaply as I could with as many repurposed items as I possibly could. A bit bent out of shape. It is about 80% finished. Been living in it full time with my 2 small children for about 7 months now, and we really love it. I'm really happy with it. I'm really proud of it. It is not perfect. It is highly imperfect. If a carpenter were to go inside, they would absolutely cringe because there are so many mistakes and errors, but I did it myself and I'm so proud of it, and I'm really excited to share it with you. My tiny house it's a 28-foot long purpose-built tiny house trailer with 2 axles. The house is 8.5 feet wide, 28 feet long, and 13 feet high from the ground to the ridge beam. I spent about 7 months to build, mostly by myself. I did have a lot of help. I designed it myself with very little outside input. I did a lot of research on the internet. I'm a trained academic, so I'm pretty good at doing research. It is currently not off-grid. There will eventually be a solar panel system on those 2 steeper sloped parts of the roofs, but right now I am plugged into the mains electrical. There will also eventually be a rainwater collection system on the eaves that will feed into a couple of IBC totes, and I will have 1 working tap and 1 working drain inside the house, but right now I'm lugging all my water in by hand. Eventually I also hope to build a greenhouse on the front of the tiny house, but I haven't figured out how that's going to work with the different angles of the roofs and the need to wipe snow off of my solar panels. I still haven't worked out the plan there yet, but having a big greenhouse on the front of the house is something I really hope I can make happen. Okay, as you can see, the front door doesn't have stairs yet, so we're gonna go in the back door. Ultimately, there will be a big deck on this back door too. So the back door is a short door that I had to cut off myself. I decided to make it in 2 pieces so that the bottom door can be opened for passing wood, firewood in and out, and also in the summer I've been using it as a cat door. For now, you get to enter through the mini door. The mini door is because it had to fit underneath the balcony. And then we go. So when you first come in, there's a coat rack here. There's a box down there, which in the summer has sunscreen and hats, and in the winter has mittens, hats, and things. There is storage for wood under the stairs. There's storage for flashlights and keys and other important last-minute things like socks. We put shoe storage under the bottom, which worked out really well. So that is the entrance hall. You can see the height of the ceiling here. I made specifically for me. So my bed is up above here. It was really important to me that I be able to read in bed. And a lot of the tiny house loft designs, there's a standard height for lofts in most tiny houses, assuming that people are taller than me. But it means that you can't sit up in your bed upstairs, and I really needed to be able to sit up in my bed upstairs. So this is not a standard height for a loft. It's a lot lower than most would be, and I love it this way. It's unfortunate that there's a good chance that when my oldest daughter gets older, she won't fit in my house anymore. But that's a price I'm willing to pay, because this is my house. It's my house. I'll build her own house if she doesn't fit. And then we have a couch that doubles as storage. There's storage inside of each of these. Mostly right now it's tools because I'm still building. And eventually I will make it so that this couch can turn into a bed, so that if we have guests, there's room for them here. There are obviously going to be loads of bookshelves because I'm a nerd. There's homeschooling stuff, there's coloring stuff, there's crafting stuff. So these shelves on this side actually hold up the loft. Because of the angle of the roof on this side, it was actually really complicated figuring out how to mount the loft. So what we ended up doing was attaching 2x6s to this wall to hold up this crown plate, and the loft is resting on the crown plate. And we put the rafters every 12 inches to be extra secure about that my loft was going to be all right. These stairs, the original design was for the stairs to be built into the shelf, but these stairs solved a couple of problems. It gave me storage for wood, and it made my loft have more space, and it also means that so this cutout in the floor here is because you would hit your head if the floor went all the way. When the floor goes all the way to there, you hit your head on this thing right here. So when the stairs weren't here, people would take a shortcut across there and hit their heads. So the stairs keep people from taking the shortcut. Now everybody goes through the cutout, and so you don't hit your head. This is all the paneling for my electrical, which isn't set up yet because life is complicated and I'm doing too many things at once. And right now that's our light because our electricity isn't connected yet. So that's the light that lights the entire house. That's usually the only thing running off of electric. I have a hot plate and a toaster as well. It was really important to me that this space have a lot of windows. I'm a person who needs sunlight. And I also always planned on having this tiny house in really beautiful rural settings. So it was really important for me to have lots and lots of windows, which made the build more complicated. And especially because all of these windows I found secondhand, and so I had to find all the windows before I could build the walls so that I could make sure that the framing spacing was just right. But I'm really happy with how bright and sunny and beautiful it is in here. And I don't mind too much about heat loss in the winter because I heat my house with this monstrosity. So this is a J.A. Roby wood cook stove I bought brand new. It's from a Quebecois company. So I was really happy to buy something local. I looked at actual tiny house wood stoves. None of them were made here. They were all going to have to be shipped from Australia or from England. But also the problem with tiny house wood stoves is that they didn't have a full-size oven. And I wanted to be able to cook actual real meals in my tiny house. So this has an oven that's big enough to fit a proper roast in it. It has 4 burners on the top. It has a warming tray. And it has more trays down here, which I can't remember. That one's supposed to be for ashes, but I don't use it for ashes. In the winter, this is my furnace, it's my cook stove, it's my water heater, it's my laundry dryer. I have racks up top where I hang my laundry and it dries in no time at all. And that adds some humidity back into the house because obviously when you have a stove like this, your house is going to be very hot and your house is going to be very dry. And I didn't know this, but a wood stove also means your house is going to be very dirty because there's loads of ash floating around all the time, and the wood that you're bringing in is always covered in dirt no matter how many times you shake it off. There's often bugs in it or dead bugs in it. So having a wood stove means it's hot, it's dry, and it's dirty. But to me, it's still worth it. I really love my wood stove. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to be realistic. So this wood stove can heat 5,000 square feet. And obviously I don't even have 500 square feet. So we are never cold in the winter, even during the fiercest blizzards. when the snow is blowing in through the cracks in the doors, we're never cold. This keeps us nice and warm. And that's part of the reason why I want to build a greenhouse on the south side of the house, because in the winter I'd be able to open these doors and open these windows and I would be able to heat the greenhouse. So I'd be able to grow things all year round, which is a life goal of mine. It took a while to get used to how to cook with this. There's not a lot of YouTube channels out there of people who actually cook their meals on one of these on a daily basis. So it's been a big learning curve for me. I found one cookbook that talks about cooking on a wood stove, and it didn't even really have recipes. It mostly just had advice. So I'm getting there. I'm learning a lot. The one thing I will say is I don't really use the oven very often, even though having an oven was the main reason that I bought this. Just because I can't get it hot enough. By the time this gets to about 300 Fahrenheit, the house is about 100 Fahrenheit, so it's just too much. But we'll keep working on it. One of the issues I had with designing the tiny house was trying to figure out what to do with the wheel well. A lot of people will build their kitchen on top of the wheel well so that it's hidden inside their kitchen cupboards, but I didn't want my kitchen here. I wanted my door here. And I wanted my stove here. And the reason I wanted my stove here was because then it was centered on top of the wheels, and so that the weight distribution wouldn't be quite as wonky. So I decided to build this false floor here. And so underneath I have storage. Here's where I've got the cat food. Here's where I've got the towels. Under here I've got our shoes and our boots. On the other side, there's more of these. There's some cardboard and some paper for the fire. There's a few kitchen utensils, my potatoes and my onions I store under the false floor because it's the coolest place in the house. I'm really happy that I did this. It worked out really nicely. Anywhere that you can squeeze storage into a tiny house is a win. Behind the wood stove, we had to put a heat shield because I wanted to put it closer to the wall than you're supposed to. And so this is some of the tin that I got for I used it for my floor, I used it for my roof, and I also used it for my chicken coop. The chairs will not be stored there when the furnace is on. It's just where I'm putting them right now. My kitchen still needs countertops. It's just plywood right now, so when I clean it, I use a dustpan and brush. The loft is the same height on this side as it is on the other side, so it's about 4 inches taller than my head. The kids' bedroom is up there. They've got lots of space. I keep all their toys up there and I try to encourage them to play upstairs. Of course, they usually end up playing in this nice spot in front of the window where the sunshine is, which means I'm tripping over them constantly. There will eventually be a rainwater collection system on the outside of the house. And I have a water pump and I have a couple of IBC totes for storage. This sink will have water pumped in and a drain pumping out. For now, my drains just drain into this bucket, which I empty every day or two. And I bring water in with this jug from the hose. That's for my dishwashing and my hand washing water. My drinking water is in these 4 bottles here. I just fill them up in the house. 4 of these bottles last me about 3 days, and that's for drinking and for cooking. This down here, this is my fridge. There's nothing in it right now. But I will usually have a pack of ice that I move. I have 2 packs of ice that I rotate from the freezer in the house to this so that I can keep condiments and basic cold items in the tiny house. This is my kitchen pantry, which doubles as a set of stairs up to the girls' loft, which I will show you shortly. The bathroom, because I have children, the bathroom door is always open. We don't even use it unless we have guests. And we do have guests sometimes, but they usually don't want to use the toilets because these are the toilets. So it's 2 buckets, a pee bucket and a poo bucket. The poo bucket is always kept filled with wood shavings because if you don't keep it full of wood shavings, flies will lay their eggs in it and you will have a scene like a horror movie in your bathroom. The wood shavings are stored down here underneath the stairs, and this is where we keep our reusable toilet paper. And I know that people think reusable toilet paper is disgusting, but can I just tell you, once you get used to wiping your bum with nice soft cloths, you'll think that toilet paper is disgusting. So this is the entrance to the kitty litter, which I obviously haven't cleaned today. And when I need to change it, this little door here is how I get to the litter box. I actually use that to actually do laundry. The dill is here in an attempt to make the bathroom smell better. And this is how we wash our hands. We just fill this up from the water that is in the blue jug or on the stove. Yes, that is a cattle watering trough that I have there that will hopefully one day be my bathtub. So that is a tour of the downstairs. How about I show you the kids' loft and my loft? So the kids' loft is kind of hard to get to if you're an adult, which I'm okay with because it means that I don't usually see how messy it is up here. But right now it's very clean. The kids have been at their dad's for a few days, so the house is actually clean for once. This is one thing that we have had to add with the summer heat because it gets pretty sweltering up in the lofts. As you can see, the roof is pretty good. I've got space, and this is at the bottom of the slope. So I'm really glad that I made the lofts the height they are, because it means the upstairs space is actually kind of usable. When you're up here, you can see how sloppy my work is. In fact, pretty much everywhere you can see how sloppy my work is, but it's really noticeable when you're in the lofts. But this is the girls' room. So my loft is accessed by these little stairs over here. And this curtain is so that I can close it off when I'm cooking in the winter because the heat up here gets to 36 degrees sometimes. And this is my loft. The window is smaller than the girls' window. Their window is actually the only window that I bought brand new in the whole house because I wanted to make sure that it worked as a fire escape. My window is much smaller. It still works as a fire escape, but it is definitely a tight squeeze. So this is my space and my clothing storage. There will eventually hopefully be a closet here, and I'll use this as my desk right here at this window. And look, I can sit up in bed. I can even sit. If I put an office right here, I can even still sit up right at the part where the low bit of the ceiling in the north side is. So I'm really happy about the height that I made the lofts. I love the view. This is why I have so many windows, so that I can look out. There's my mint garden. I intentionally didn't put any windows on the north wall because I was concerned about cold wind in the winter. So this is my garden. 4 months ago, this was just grass. Before I moved here at the beginning of April, we tilled this and brought in 3 dump trailers full of 5-year aged cow manure. And I packed it in really tight, which worked out perfectly fine because the soil has loads of nutrients in it. It's a really beautiful garden. It's the best garden I've ever had, if I'm honest with you. I'm really happy with it. I hilled the rows because I don't know, I just really like raised beds, and I didn't have the time to build raised bed boxes, so I just hilled it, and I think I'll keep it like that. I'll do no dig gardening, so I'll add layer on top of layer of organic matter every fall to feed the soil from above. And over in the corner over there, you can see my very full compost that I put my rabbit droppings in there, and I pour my pee bucket from my off-grid toilet in there, and that will be what I'll be putting on top of the garden every fall. So it should be getting lots and lots of nutrients. And I have several cattle panel trellises inspired by Jess and Maya of Roots and Refuge Farm. So that's really one of the most beautiful features of my garden that I can't get enough of. So Don and I built all of this. I did most of it. He definitely helped me with his tractors and dump trailers and a backhoe and so on and so forth to make it all come together. But considering that I didn't even know until April that I was going to be living here, I'm pretty darn impressed. The gates aren't finished yet though. That's still something on the to-do list. So over here we have grapevines, which have obviously been here for several years. So grapes are going to be ready soon. On the other side, in this little alcove here, this is where I'm keeping some of my rabbits. This cage I built last year. It's on wheels, so it can be moved around back and forth. These are the two juveniles, Salad and Clover. Hi Salad, hi Clover. They're pretty cute. This is our breeding male over here. He's currently just being kept in this dog crate, which is big enough for him, but I would like to give him something bigger somewhere down the line. We've been a bit too busy to really invest in rabbit infrastructure, but that is next on the to-do list. So on the other side of these pine trees, we built the chicken runs up next to the shed. So the smaller coop over there was the one that I built 4 years ago when I still lived with the girl's father. And it was built to be inside of a barn. So it's not rainproof and it is crumbling very quickly. This one we built here over the last month or so, and it's our main coop now. We're keeping my main flock in here, and the silkies and the ducks will live in the smaller one. But we're gonna have to be doing some renovations to the smaller coop in order to make it habitable. And we're gonna have to do that sooner than later because it's starting to crumble on us. This is my handsome boy penguin, who you might remember from a video I made a couple of years ago. Can we raise a nice rooster? And he is a really nice rooster. He's a good boy. You can pick him up, you can pet him. He's never attacked anybody. He's doing his dance for me because he's a bit confused. He doesn't know the difference between a human and a hen. And these are the hens that I've mostly had for 3 years. 2 of them are new this year. Oh, hey girl, you giving me some eggs? It's a good coop. I'm really happy with it. I would like to insulate it for the winter, but that's further down the line. So the fences that I use for my chicken runs is just this 7-foot deer fence. It's just cheap plastic. It's not really sturdy in any way. It wouldn't keep out any predators. It just keeps the chickens from leaving and going into my garden. And it works for me because I'm on a tight budget. The ducks I've had for 3 years, but everybody else is just new this year. We got some silkies. This is my silky rooster. He's a bit of a jerk. There's too many roosters in here right now. So they're trying to prove something. This is my scissorbeak rooster. His name is Edward Scissorbeak. And this is the little hen. Her name is Scissor Sister. She's really sweet. She's got a lovely personality. But she's not growing as quickly as the other ones because she just can't eat as well as they eat. The silkies are really sweet. We like them a lot. Not the roosters so much, but the hens. There's one whose name is Silk, and she's pretty much the sweetest chicken I've ever met. We've also got some pokies in here, which is a cross between a Polish and a Silkie, and we like them too. They're pretty nice. So that's the chicken situation and the duck situation. And then the final thing is inside this shed here. The people who lived here before built this little room in the back. I'm not really sure why they built it, although I know them, I could ask them. But I called it the panic room. But we have converted it into a brooder room. So when the chicks were little, the chicks lived in here, and now that we have baby bunnies, this is where we're keeping the mamas and the babies. And it works really well. It's a nice room. When they were outside and they had a litter, we kept losing babies. Only 2 of 6 babies survived because it was just too hot out there. But in here, it's nice and cool. It's a lot easier to regulate the temperature. It's a lot easier to keep them safe from the cats. And they have so much space to run around. They're pretty happy in here. And that's it. That's the tour of my tiny house and my garden. I'm sure I'll give another tour later on when it's further along in its construction. But I gotta say, it's been both harder and easier than I thought it was gonna be. I'm really proud of myself that I was able to do something like that with very little building experience. And I'm looking forward to finishing it. Would I do it again? I'm not sure. I would need a bigger budget, I think, and more time. If I had those things, then yeah, maybe I would. But thank you for hanging out with me. It's nice to talk to you all again.